Alrighty, can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Michael Shayevsky, and I serve as Executive Secretary of the Friends of the Alexander M. Bracken Library. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. This is the June 2022 installment of the Ball State University Library's virtual Lunch and Learn series. This is a monthly opportunity for library friends, for campus community members, and for university and local community members to learn more about emerging initiatives, resources, and services here at Ball State University Libraries. We host these programs on the third Thursday of every month, and you can find more information about these Zoom programs. They're all virtual. These programs on the Ball State University Library's website. We have one more program planned for July, and then we'll be announcing some programs for August and for our fall semester here coming soon. So today's program is entitled Removing Barriers, Support for Course Material Affordability and Accessibility. Very, very important topic, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to learn more about this very important topic with you all this afternoon. So we have four presenters from Ball State University Libraries here to share about this topic. Laura McLeod-Suman is the Head of Access Services at University Libraries. Her role includes overseeing several core library services in Bracken Library, including circulation, interlibrary loan, book stacks, and course reserves and reading lists. Before becoming a librarian in 2010, Laura earned her MLS from Indiana University Bloomington and worked as an editor for university presses. Michael Twigg is the Head of Collections and Resource Acquisition Services at University Libraries. He has nearly 25 years experience working in library acquisitions and collection development. Micah Jeltina is the Open Content and Digital Publishing Librarian. He has worked at Ball State since 2018, supporting open education efforts on campus related to research, publishing, and instruction. And Jim Bradley has been with Ball State University Library since 2004. He currently serves as head of metadata and digital initiatives and manages the department which digitizes cultural heritage objects and archival materials, describes them, and places them into online collections such as the Digital Media Repository. So those are our four presenters. I want to thank you all for making time to share about this important topic with our audience today. And without any further ado, I will hand things over to Micah Jeltima, our Open Content and Digital Publishing Librarian, who will begin the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn presentation. Again, my name is Micah Jeltima, and my colleagues and I will be discussing services and platforms university libraries offer to address barriers that students may experience when engaging with their learning materials. To put the issue into context, these are numbers from the Student Satisfaction and Experience Survey report published in spring 2021. Among the respondents, 37% of students reported moderate to serious difficulties with the affordability of instructional materials. 14% of students also reported moderate to serious difficulties with access to those materials. As you can see, a significant portion of the student body must overcome these material barriers before they can even begin to engage with their education here at the university. Today's presentation will introduce some of the meaningful ways university libraries are addressing these barriers to support instructors in the design and execution of low and no-cost courses at Ball State University. To begin, I'd like to introduce Michael Twigg, Head of Collections and Resource Acquisition Services.
Thank you, Micah. My name is Michael Twigg, and I'm the Head of Collection and Resource Acquisition Services. In our area, we select, acquire, and weed the collection as needed, and we do this in all formats, ranging from print to streaming. I'd like to give you some examples of ways we support course material affordability and accessibility. While we don't actively collect textbooks for logistical and fiscal reasons, we can help faculty and students to access materials in print or electronic format. When requested by instructors, we try our best to acquire print materials for their courses. These print items can then be put on reserve so that students can access the items in a manner that promotes accessibility by multiple students in the course. Ebooks on the other hand, provide us with some interesting ways to meet the needs of even more users. In some instances, we can purchase multi-user ebook titles that can be used in courses in lieu of a textbook. On the electronic side, we also can provide streaming video content. We provide this content in several of our different electronic databases. The most significant and important platform is Canopy that we use to provide access to streaming content. Canopy allows users to find and preview titles, and they can even watch the entire film at no cost to either the user or the library. However, when a film is used multiple times, the title triggers a purchase and the library license and pays for a 12-month license. This content, as I said, is free to the end user, and the content can be streamed to the user's preferred device. So it makes it a very convenient resource for faculty to incorporate in their courses. So these are some of the ways that we and Collection Resource Acquisition Services provide access to materials that contribute to course material affordability and accessibility. I would like to turn the presentation over to Jim Bradley.
Hello, thanks, Michael. I'm going to talk about the Digital Media Repository, or as we call it, the DMR. It has been key to university library strategy for overall online visibility and accessibility for many items housed in archives and special collections. The DMR is publicly accessible to anyone, but a small minority of its holdings do require Ball State login credentials due to copyright or licensing restrictions. Beyond this caveat, all materials in the DMR are accessible and downloadable for free, making it a very cost-effective conduit for enriching courses and augmenting research assignments with archival materials and primary source content. The physical archives curates and provides stewardship for hundreds of thousands of primary source materials and cultural heritage objects, but there have always been challenges in providing access to these materials. The largest limitation would be that although collection description and finding aids are available online, instructors, students, or researchers generally have to come to the archives to examine or utilize these resources. Archives and special collections are, of course, happy to regularly accommodate such visits, as well as to work with faculty to provide on-site instructional sessions that are specifically tailored toward a specific course or content. But many archival resources have the additional hurdle of their content being locked into formats, which require specialized and increasingly antiquated and rare equipment for viewing and access. Additionally, many archival objects are fragile or rapidly deteriorating, so handling such items should ideally be kept at a minimum. For these reasons, university libraries began its digital initiatives program early in the 2000s with the end goal of increasing discoverability and access to these archival assets while simultaneously assisting in the preservation, conservation, and long-term stewardship of such items. The Metadata and Digital Initiatives Unit, which I manage, emerged specifically to address these goals. A variety of technologies are employed to transcode analog materials into usable digital files, and specialized enhancement software is also employed to ensure the best quality of image and sound possible. Finally, these assets are combined with descriptive information, which we call metadata sets, in the Digital Media Repository. And again, the DMR is a freely available open access research repository developed here at university libraries to house historic photographs, diaries, newspaper, or organizational records, digitized film, video, audio recordings, architectural drawings, oral history interviews, reusable learning objects, scientific diagrams, sheet music, artwork, maps, and all other forms of primary source content. The DMR has now grown to more than 250,000 metadata records, housing and describing about 1.2 million individual assets. All of these records and assets are gathered together into a little over 300 distinct online collections in the DMR, and their content represent materials that were selected from almost 800 collections that are in the physical archives. Development of the DMR continues to grow with digitized versions of analog archival materials, as well as increasingly the addition of born digital materials, and they can easily exist in the online repository side by side. Students, faculty, and other researchers may search, browse, access, and download assets through the DMR's native Ball State interface. However, the DMR also communicates and shares metadata records with other systems. So many of these same assets are also discoverable and accessible through third-party information sources and online environments, such as the Indiana State Library, the Digital Public Library of America, OneSearch, Google, YouTube, and OCLC WorldCat. The primary portal for access, however, is the DMR's native web presence, available at dmr.bsu.edu. So let's briefly take a glance at it. From the DMR's main landing page, you can choose to search an entire repository or to browse through the more than 300 collections it contains. If you're unfamiliar with the DMR, browsing the collections might be the best form of introduction, and the gray bar that you see just below mid-page will offer you 4 options for doing so. They are from left to right: browsing all collections alphabetically by title. Next would be browsing by subject matter. Next would be by geographic location. And finally, by format. However, should you wish to search rather than browse, you may do so using the DMR's simple search box, or you could choose to click through to the advanced search interface for a more targeted searching options. So once again, everything that is in the digital media repository is freely accessible and available at dmr.bsu.edu. Also, the staff at Ball State University Archives and Special Collections have created a research guide where you can find further information, instructions, and tips, as well as a video tutorial on how to best utilize the DMR. I'll provide both of these links to you in the comments section momentarily. And with that, I think I will turn things back over to Micah.
Thank you, Jim. Once again, I'm Micah Jeltima. I'm the Open Content and Digital Publishing Librarian. Michael and Jim have presented on ways that students can access instructional materials directly through the libraries. I'll be discussing something a little bit different with open educational resources. Open educational resources, or OER, are instructional materials distributed with highly permissive open licenses. They are typically created by educators and organizations and shared freely online, offering students and instructors the opportunity to access and interact with instructional materials in new ways at no cost. They are not library materials in the traditional sense, as they are not accessed through the institution, but university libraries do support faculty in the selection and evaluation of OERs, as we do with all academic information needs. The idea of open is a growing trend in academia. You may be familiar with terms like open access scholarship, referring to scholarship that is accessible without any paywall restrictions. Open access principles allow for the unrestricted distribution of scholarship, meaning that anyone with internet access can read, download, print, and post openly licensed scholarship without violating copyright. Open educational resources take that idea further, allowing anyone to access and download, but also adapt materials. For instructors, this could be as simple as taking an assignment that a colleague at another university has created and tailoring it for the Ball State community and their individual learning objectives. It could also be as ambitious as selecting the best chapters from multiple OER textbooks, adding new content, and assembling those materials as a brand new departmental textbook. This would never be permitted under traditional copyright structures, but is allowed and encouraged with open licensing. The most commonly accepted open licensing structure is the Creative Commons license. Some of these symbols may already look familiar to you, and if they don't, I'll bet you'll begin to notice them frequently online. I won't go into them individually, but there are a variety of different licenses that individuals can assign to their works that spell out exactly what users may do with their material. The original creator still keeps the copyright to their intellectual property. The users can engage with, adapt, and build on that material with creative and academic freedom, all without worrying about copyright and fair use arguments. You can find Creative Commons licenses on many forms of media online. Here's an example from Flickr, an image hosting community. Notice those Creative Commons symbols in the bottom right. Creative Commons licenses are also the primary standard for open materials in academia. Here's an example of a scholarly article appearing in a journal published by Elsevier, one of the largest for-profit publishers. Even though materials published by Elsevier are often behind a paywall, this article has been made available in open access. As you can see in the bottom left there, even in this serious academic journal, those access conditions are defined by a Creative Commons license. OER is a very general term that can cover anything from PowerPoint slides to assignments to syllabi and entire course structures. One of the areas where we can have the greatest impact on the student experience and those material barriers is with OER textbooks. It's still somewhat early days, but there are already a wide variety of openly licensed, no-cost OER textbooks available, particularly in high-volume introductory courses where we can save students the most money. Which brings us to student benefits. The most obvious, of course, are those savings. Because OER textbooks do not have a cost, students essentially save as much money as they would have otherwise spent on traditional textbooks, which we know can be extremely expensive. That has the additional benefit of ensuring that students won't be trying to get a used textbook or waiting to see if they can get away with not buying a course text at all. Because instructors can host an OER text directly on the course learning pages, all students will be guaranteed day one access to their learning materials, which has significant impact on student success. The University of Georgia conducted a long-term study with a sample of over 20,000 students. They studied outcomes of 4 courses, where each course had one section with a traditional textbook and one section with an equivalent OER textbook. They saw a significant increase in the number of students achieving A and A- grades, but also a reduction in the number of students receiving a D, F, or withdrawal. Among non-white students, we see similar increases in the percent of A and A- grades, but the reduction in D, F, and withdrawal grades is almost double that of the overall sample. These trends are also visible among students receiving Pell Grants. This is evidence of the enormous potential of OER to contribute to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts here at Ball State University. Instructors also benefit from OER. They don't have to reinvent the wheel for every assignment when they can find an OER version online and tailor it to their specific course, maybe using some of those DMR assets. They probably most appreciate the peace of mind when it comes to navigating copyright compliance. They can also apply Creative Commons licenses to their own work, increasing the utility and impact of their efforts without surrendering the copyright to their intellectual property. Again, these are still early days for the creation and adoption of OER, but there is exciting work taking place on campus. University libraries are highly involved with ongoing collaborations with campus partners to support instructors in the evaluation, adoption, creation, and distribution of open educational resources. Not only do we support instructors in the identification and evaluation of no-cost materials, we provide the tools necessary to bring those into the classroom. For more, I'll hand it over to Laura McLeod-Suman, Head of Access Services.
Hello. Again, I'm Laura Suman. I'm the Head of Access Services at Ball State University Libraries. And one of our core services in Access Services is to maintain the reading list service for faculty and students. The University Libraries implemented this platform in January 2020 to streamline the course reserves experience for both faculty and students, and to support a larger campus movement toward adopting low and no cost course materials in service of removing barriers to student learning. Our reading lists platform offers a simple way for students to access course materials selected by their instructors, including full text articles, ebooks, digitized content, streaming audio and video, and many other media types. It is an enhanced version of the course reserve services we have offered for a very long time at the university libraries, but it offers many benefits for both students and faculty. You can see in this screenshot that the library's homepage has a link to the reading list system. However, there is a way for an instructor to connect their reading list to the Canvas course, making the access even simpler and more intuitive for students in the course. I offer training opportunities every semester to inform faculty of the value of adopting reading lists, and I teach them the do-it-yourself tools built into the system. Faculty are also advised in these training workshops that there are various ways that library staff support reading lists. So we can create the reading lists for faculty and roll them over to new semesters. We scan book chapters and other selections and post them to the lists. We can get physical reserve materials ready for checkout. We maintain the copyright compliance of resources on reading lists, and we can troubleshoot access. Reading lists are featured in new faculty onboarding activities at the beginning of each academic year. So whether a faculty member chooses to take the traditional route and have library staff create the reading lists for them, or take advantage of the do-it-yourself tools, they still receive essential support from library staff. The link to training opportunities is on the library's homepage. It's the link to the calendar that lists all of the library workshops, and I've put it here on this slide. You can check back on that link on our library homepage closer to the new semester to see what new workshops are being offered. There are many benefits of reading lists for students. When an instructor sets up a reading list for their course, students are getting first day access to those readings and multimedia resources. And because reading lists sync with enrollment data from Banner, which is our campus student information system, as many of you know, students can see all of the reading lists for all of the courses they're enrolled in from their own dashboard. We recommend that faculty actually take it a step further and connect their reading lists directly to their Canvas course environment by adding it to the navigation menu in Canvas. And then that allows the reading list to be just one click away from the other important course content that the students need. The reading lists platform is the perfect blend of library subscription content, open educational resources like Micah was talking about, fair use selections from published works, none of which must be purchased by the student. So reading lists is an excellent way to provide an affordable option to students and save them real money. There are also a number of benefits for faculty. With those do-it-yourself tools, faculty can customize their lists and create subsections within the list to help students prioritize course resources. They can label the sections to correlate with the other naming conventions they use in Canvas or in the other course materials. So sometimes they'll label those sections week 1, week 2, unit 1, unit 2, etc. Of course, they can also take advantage of that plugin I talked about, where they can connect the reading list to Canvas. And then it's right there in the Canvas environment and super easy for students to locate. Faculty who have used reading lists have commented that they appreciate library staff assistance in getting the reading lists created and activated, but many are also enjoying those do-it-yourself tools, such as the ability to add and remove readings and customize the sections. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when classes were held online, several faculty members were impressed by all of the immediate benefits that they saw of utilizing reading lists to link to all the multimedia resources they were sharing with their classes. This is a screenshot I took from a really good reading list, a good example to show you. And this is from a musical theater dance course that's taught by Professor Molly Garner. I secured her permission to share her really good reading list in campus presentations. This one is a good example of how the faculty member can create a simple list with a variety of course resources. This one includes digitized book chapters that have been posted to the list, links to electronic articles from library databases, even a link to a streaming video resource that she wants her class to watch. Within the university libraries, we've done an early assessment of the value of reading lists. And so looking at usage statistics from fall 2021 and spring 2022, we can see that there is a modest adoption across campus. 873 course sections were using reading lists, and 4,832 items were linked from those reading lists. It equates to a significant savings for students, even though that was just a modest adoption. In this analysis, we determined that $458,906.62 was saved by students due to their instructors offering course resources via the reading lists platform during this academic year. At the university libraries, we're working with campus partners to increase visibility of reading lists and to scale the usage of it so that more course sections can be involved and we can increase the cost savings realized by students. That concludes the reading lists presentation, as well as our joint presentation. We have included our names, titles, and contact information on this last slide. And I'm going to open it up now to all of my colleagues, and we would be really happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks for your attention, and we look forward to any questions you might have for us.
Thanks so much, everyone. This was really insightful, enlightening, and highly informative. So thank you so much for sharing this. Questions, feel free to ask them aloud or type them into the chat. We're glad to provide any additional information we can or follow up via email with perhaps any more specific resources or links or anything like that that might be helpful to you. Thank you for the comments in the chat. Appreciate that affirmation. Very glad that this was helpful. Thank you all. We'll give folks a minute or two if they have any questions or any comments or thoughts for our library presenters. Okay, I'm not hearing any questions, so I think we can wrap up our program. I'll mention that we have an upcoming program scheduled in the virtual Lunch and Learn series on Thursday, July 21st, 12 p.m. We have a program entitled Open Scholarship on Campus, where you can learn how the university libraries facilitate online journal publishing here at Ball State University. Micah Geltima will be involved with that as well, so looking forward to that. So hearing no questions, I will thank everyone. Thank you to our presenters for sharing this incredibly helpful information, and thank you to our attendees for making time to learn about an exciting set of initiatives here at Ball State University Library. So we hope to hear from you in the future, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, everybody.